Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. Today we're going to be talking about converting an LLC to a corporation or a corporation to an LLC. Now, this is not about moving to a new state. This is about staying in the same state and you're changing the legal entity of your business. This is also not about changing the tax status. This is not about an LLC being taxed as an S Corp or C Corp. This is about the legal form of the business. Is it an LLC regardless of tax status? Is it a corporation regardless of tax status? And sometimes you want to switch from one to the other. So how do you actually do that? So the first thing you want to do when you're thinking about switching is you need to figure out the tax stuff. And because this is going to affect you're doing that conversion. So if you have an LLC, for example, that's taxed as a sole proprietorship, you can't take that tax status over to being a corporation. You're gonna have to change the tax status to being an S Corp or C Corp, which you probably know because maybe that's why you're doing it or something. I don't know. But the idea is that you have to consider that when you're going from one to the other. You can have an LLC that's taxed as a sole proprietorship or partnership if it's a pass-through tax entity because you haven't filed anything different, or taxed as an S Corp or C Corp. You can have a corporation that's taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp. So you need to know what your tax status currently is and how it's going to affect you. So I'd recommend talking to your tax preparer, your accountant, whatever, to make sure it's going to be set up correctly when you get to the end, or what the goal is going to be and whether it makes sense to file some stuff now or wait until later. And also about this, you're going to have to look at the tax implications of exactly what you're doing and make sure that the timing of it is going to work out well. Because there's going to be a day when you switch over the actual this legal status of the business, and you want to make sure it's not awkward regarding your finances. So I recommend talking to your accountant, to your tax preparer, so you can coordinate what makes sense for you. The second thing is that the owners need to approve this. So if it's an LLC, it'll be the members. If it is a corporation, it'll be first you'll start with the directors and then you'll go to the shareholders. These people all need to approve what's going on. Now for an LLC, you may have to start with the managers and go to the members. And then for a corporation, you start with the directors and then go to the shareholders. But we want everyone to vote. And I put quote marks around voting because maybe it's just one person. And so voting is, obviously you agree with this, but you want to record the decision is being made by the managers, if you have them for an LLC, as well as the members, and by the directors and shareholders of the corporation, what the vote was, and that they approved doing this conversion. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is create a plan of conversion. How much detail this needs to go into, how complicated this needs to be, really depends on your state. Some states just need to know that you did it. The plan is that we're going to do this. I mean, it's like there's not even really a plan. It's just like, you put this in the thing you voted on and that is your plan. Some states have specific list of stuff that needs to be in the plan. So you have to find out what that is for your state. You're going to go to the Department of Corporations or Secretary of State or whatever for your particular state and find out what those requirements are so you can make sure they go into your plan for conversion. Usually you don't file that. There might be places that you do file it, but generally speaking, it's just some piece of paperwork that you have to have that you're going to eventually check a box and say under penalty of perjury that you have it. So the next thing you're going to do is file with your state. And what you're going to be doing is you'll be filing one or maybe multiple documents that are saying you want to convert this and then setting up the new business entity. And the new business entity will have its first formation documents, the certificate of formation or whatever it's called in your state for that particular entity. And that entity will exist and the old entity will not exist. It will have been converted, obviously, because we're calling it conversion, into that new entity. So if you look at different states, we're going to look here at California. California has forms for this. You can file this online on BizFile when you log into your particular corporation, and then you can totally file online. I highly recommend filing it online if you possibly can. But if you don't have access to it online or something, then there is a PDF form. You can find it on the sos.ca.gov for conversions. Let's find right here, conversions. And it all depends on which entity you're coming from and which one you're going to. So, and actually, let's look at the form. The form is really not that big of a deal. It is the name, the business address, the new name, the business address, your registered agent. For if you're going into a corporation, you have to say how many shares there are that you're allowed to have, what the old name is, what the old entity number is, and then you have to sign it. I mean, it's really not a big a deal. But I find in other states it can be a little bit more complicated. So looking at Nevada has the same thing where they have a packet that you can get. This is one packet for all the things, for conversion, exchange, merger, all this stuff. So you have the articles of conversion, and you have to fill in all the information about that, or merger for that matter. And then it has all a bunch of extra forms that go with it. Let's pull up their rules real quick. So one of the things in Nevada is it's not a combined form. So you have the articles of conversion, but then you also have to have the documents that the charter document, which is the starting document of whatever entity that you're creating. I find that some states, they combine all the forms like California does, but Nevada, it's multiple different forms you have to file, and which makes it more likely that you might mess something up, is the short version of it. But just be aware that you're going to have to figure out what those different forms are. You might need to actually contact them to make sure that you included the right things. If you include the wrong things, they'll send it back and tell you what is missing, and then you'll file those different things. The next thing you're going to do is update your tax status with the IRS. So you might need to change tax status or elect, S corporation or whatever it is tax status. And you need to send a letter to the IRS to notify that you have a different kind of a business entity. In some cases, when you do the conversion, you might just keep the same tax status, but sometimes you might be changing it. And the name is going to change because before it was such and such LLC, and now it's going to be such and such corporation or such and such Inc. or vice versa. So you need to notify the IRS via sending them a letter. And the last thing you're going to have to do is update it everywhere else. And I say that flippantly almost because everywhere that you have the name, the old business name, the old business entity type, you have to update it. So I made a little bit of a list. We're talking about sales tax filings, business license, permits, your DBA. We'll actually have to redo your DBA, bank accounts, merchant accounts, credit cards, loans, contracts, your website. You need to make sure that this is updated everywhere that you did the original filing. So this is a bit tedious, that it's not really a legal issue in the sense of like you need a lawyer to help you with those things. However, they all need to be done. Most of the time you keep the same account, you just switch the name, but in some cases you'll actually have to do a new filing. Like I think for a DBA, you'd actually have to do a new filing in most places, maybe not everywhere, because every state, every county has their own set of rules, but you have to go back and look at all those things that you did when you first set up your business and effectively update them, amend them, or even redo them for the new business entity and new business name. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have more questions or would like to connect further, you can sign up for the Discord or the Patreon. Links are below. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.